Hello, everyone. This is Corinne Woodward-Wasson. I'm recording this for the Phoenix Center for the Arts. This is Home Sweet Home, Arizona, landscapes in watercolor. And this is our big long piece that we're working on. So we already did our quick one. And now we're looking at this big one. And I'm working 10 by 14 inches on 300-pound cold press Arches watercolor paper. I am using my Pelican set of watercolors today. I really like these guys. They're a little bit more compact. I have fewer colors on my palette. I like all of those things. This is our first pass of reflection. You know, we've been looking at this reflection here on still water, and we're going to come back in. I think we kind of just need the foreground. Part of me thinks that we need like a really vibrant green back here to really make that pop, but the other part of me is like, maybe just add the foreground and then decide if you need anything more in the background, because this is at a good resting place. It's got some marks, but not too many marks. And then we're going to make these really fun long lines. And we're going to start with these really beautiful cattails. So let's do the cattails. Let's make some really long lines. If you have a number 6 brush, even better if you have a number 6 fine liner, you can use that. I'm going to first just lay a little bit of like red brown. I'm going to put a little bit of sienna in with my cadmium red, or if you have a scarlet, just your warm red brown. I'm just going to lay this down here. I'm laying it really thick and heavy on the left-hand side. And then I'm going to come over here as well. My light is coming from the right. And I'm just laying this over here, carrying this down into here. Anywhere you make a mark above the water, we need to make that mark below the water, right? Above the water, below the water, boom, boom. I think this cattail would be visible as a reflection. Let's make it. And then let's take a little bit of water and just carry that brown from the left-hand side over to the right-hand side. There we go. This guy's got a funny shape. There we go. And here. There. Okay. I think so. We have some nice cattails there. All of a sudden, like even just seeing these reflections, it's so helpful, right? To see that this is water, and like those little clues just like tell your brain what's going on, and it's so helpful. I'm going to take a little bit of bright green. I'm going to mix just right here next to it because I'm kind of out of room over here. And I'm going to take the tiniest bit of ochre and mix that in with my green so that I have this really bright, warm sap green mixed in with a little tiny bit of ochre. And I'm going to bring this piece up from the bottom, starting on my tape. I'm coming up, up, down, and flick, right? Let's take a little bit more of that ochre. The trick with adding all these really thin lines is water. You need fluidity in your piece here. You know what? I think we can go even brighter on this. Let's take a little bit of straight yellow and just tap it in here so that it dries in that green. There we go. And while we have it on our brush, we'll just take a little bit of yellow right here and make some big yellow marks. Here, one goes this way. Where else? Maybe a nice bright yellow there. Maybe a bright yellow there. These are going off the page here. I'm only putting this yellow in so that it's not only in one place, right? We don't want yellow just in one place. Okay, so I just dropped in a little bit of yellow just so that This has something to correspond to. And I'm going to take a little bit of water and just run a little bit of this color down into here. That's too much. Here we go. All right, let's make a really dark green. So let's take our phthalo and mix it with some blue, either an ultramarine or a cobalt or something. I'll take a little bit of this, move it in there. And then let's take a little bit of this brown, this really warm brown, any brown that leans towards orange or red, like a burnt sienna, and mix it in with your green so that it's like this super dark green, green, green brown. Look, here's the color I made last time on our quick one, and this is the color I've made this time, and they are identical. And we're gonna use them with a bunch of water on our brush and a bunch of pigment as well, so that we can get these nice fine marks as we run through these grasses, okay? So I'm gonna take a little bit of this dark and I'm just gonna tap it on the line here as the underside of this one. This is very controlled in here. And then I've got one that kind of comes up and across. And I've got another one that's kind of coming up from the bottom like this. So you can make some really thin ones. I've got one here. If you just want to practice making some really thin marks, right? Starting maybe in a place where you can sort of get away with, not murder, but close to it. Lay that dark, dark down, and then where do we want to take it? I want to take it from here up, up. One of these goes all the way off the paper. So I can load up my brush with pigment. I can set that pigment down at the bottom, right where it meets the water. And I can take it there, and I can take it all the way off my paper, right? So you can make some really nice, fine marks in there. And if you need to come back and make another mark, make another mark. That's okay. You're getting the hang of how much water versus pigment do I need to have on my brush. Also, what can I get away with here? Can I start here and curve back down? Start here and curve back down, right? This guy up here that does the crazy bend, I can come here and flick off and then just come down from there. And then down here, anywhere where I have one that went left, I will need one that goes left. Boom, you're making little butterflies, right? If you make a line there, you make a line here. If you make a short line, you make a short line. If you need to make some weird twigs hanging out on the surface of the water, make some weird twigs hanging out on the surface of the water. Just make those little lines in there. There's so much going on right here at where these reeds are growing. You can do a little short one, little short one, little short one, little short one, maybe a crisscross one, maybe a crisscross one, right? Just know that anywhere where you start to add these marks, you have to make both the above and below marks so that they correspond. And you just want that to be this really like juicy combination. And you can do these in dark blue. You can do these in dark green. You can do these in dark brown. Anything that corresponds to your pigment choices that you made. And they can be really dark. They can be really thin and fine. You can make some tiny ones. If you need some really small marks in there, you can pick up straight black or the darkest brown or the darkest blue that you have, like an indigo or a Van Dyke brown, and you can drop that in there and start to just trick it into moving up some of these edges, and then maybe you just make a couple really dark ones. I'm gonna try my fine liner brush. This is a new brush to me as well. I bought a brush pack, and in it there were 4 brushes, a flat, a giant round, a number 6 fine liner, and a number 8 round. So I got an 8, a 14, a 6, and a 3/4 inch flat brush. And I really like this one, so I'm gonna try this guy out too. And I'm gonna go with the super dark. I'm gonna mix my really warm brown with my black to make like the darkest of black browns that you could possibly make. You could also go really blue, really red, really green. You know, you just kind of have to make a choice and then stick by it. I'm gonna use this here. Oh no, I just dragged my hand into this beautiful little edge that I made there. I'm gonna lift there so I can clean that up. Darn it. Okay, I'm gonna take this dark on the left-hand side of my cattail so that it's really dark over here. And that I have this nice contrast here. The thing about a fine liner is what it's designed for is exactly what we're doing today, is making these really long, thin lines. So if I start here off the paper and I come up, I hesitated. I'm going to start off the paper and I'm going to come up and I'm going to make a little turn there. And I'm going to make 3 over here. 1, and then 2, and then 3. It does exactly what it says it's going to do, right? It creates fine lines. It's a fine liner. And it's a really nice brush to have if you are a painter of whiskers. If you love painting grasses like this is a great brush to have. Look at that little bit of green that I brought over here. What a silly thing. I'm going to take just water on my flat brush here and flow that over. There, we brought some green into the background here as well. We'll just bring that over as some contrast there. There's a little bit of reflection of that green. Then when I let that dry, I can make a nice clean mark along that edge so it doesn't look like it's going into the water like it does right now. If you could make an even combination of water and paint on your brush, that's what you would want here, so that you can just make these really, oh, see, I didn't have enough there. I dry brushed it. So if you do that, follow, follow, follow. I like that. I'm going to take some of these darker marks over here onto this side. I'm going to just drop in here, and then I'm going to start and just carry up. And remember that any mark you make going up, you're going to make going down as well. Just coming back over these cattails to make them nice and dark. Here as well, just bringing this one forward so that it shines against this. And then I think I'll just do maybe like 2 more lines coming in from the outside, or maybe even just like these going a little bit darker. So again, I'm just mixing black and a burnt sienna together. And apparently putting a bunch of black on top of my burnt sienna, that's not good practice. I'm gonna clear that off. Take all that color over into here, pick up a little bit of black. There we go. Now I've got a nice combo of the two of them. It's funny when I can't talk when I'm working, right? Because I'm too concentrated on what it is that I'm doing. There's this great little twig over here, just kind of resting on the top of the water. I think there's something about just having a little bit more visual interest here in the foreground that's so nice, and getting some of those really thin marks. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. This is gonna be an interesting one because when you clear this off and you get that nice edge there, I feel like you're going to get this real sense of space and place. I see, I taped all the way around my block. That's funny. Okay, here we go. What do we think of that? Down there at the bottom, it's definitely helpful to get that clean edge. Oh, look, this looks like it's going back in the water. Let's clean that up. I'm gonna take that dark brown and I'm just gonna run it right along here. And then I can take the tiniest bit of red in there and a little bit of water. I'm removing any extra red off of here and I'm just tapping it down into this little corner here, and I'm going to put a little bit on this side here and a little bit on my, what is this guy called again? A cattail. I'm having a really hard time remembering that. That's funny. It's like the reason I chose this piece and I also titled it that, and now I can't remember it. Remember, a little bit of warm in the foreground goes a long way, even when you paint down into the white of the paper. Okay, that cleaned that up right there. And if you've still got a little bit of water coming through, you can put a little bit of water on there and then just load this up with a nice yellow or a nice green just to come up over the top, but like really load it up so that it's mostly pigment and just the tiniest bit of paper. There we go. Okay, I think all three of these are gonna flood together now. So I put a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow and a little bit of green, and then they're just gonna dry and flood together, and then that's gonna be very much at the forefront. And anywhere where you need a little bit of green up in here, maybe you got a little bit of dry brush snuck in there, just go ahead and take that up and through in order to get the colors that you need. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're in a really good resting place. Can you see all the way to the top? There we go. All the way to the bottom. All the way to the top. You can see here that I thought I was still taped off, right? Even though I just did that right here and here. That's funny. Okay. This is a doozy, you guys. It's really fun, really loose, and then really tight marks in the foreground. So that should create a really good sense of foreground, middle ground, background. Looking at the actual landscape in comparison to the reflection of the landscape as two very different marks. Still using your warm colors in the foreground, cool colors in the background. Just creating this really nice sense of depth in your space. Okay, great. I can't wait to see yours. Okay, bye.